Welcome to Describing the Skybox, the podcast that's like a book club for people who don't think that books reward them enough for being good at them. I'm Chad Ruthermond.
And I'm Andy Kinnick.
And today, we're going to be talking about the Earthbound Halloween Hack, a game that was developed by Radiation, aka Toby Fox, and released in 2008 as a file on a web page that you have to patch over a ROM of Earthbound.
Yeah, it was for some kind of contest as well.
Oh, right. It was for like a hack contest.
Mm-hmm. And this is older than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, yeah. But, he made it when he was like a teenager or something.
Yeah.
We'll get into that in a second.
But first, you can give us a like or a rating. Follow us on Blue Sky. It would be greatly appreciated. Chad, can you describe the Earthbound Halloween Hack?
So the Earthbound Halloween Hack, as far as genre goes, it being a ROM hack of Earthbound, it is a JRPG. You walk around, you have random encounters, and you participate in turn-based battles, as you would expect. I would say my number one description of this game would be that it's hard as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not I don't know how your kind of told me it spoke volumes.
Yeah.
But I was wondering if this was like I don't play a lot of RPGs thing, or if it's just like a lot of ROM hacks tuned very against the player.
Yeah. I found that really off-putting and unexpected. Apparently, yeah, especially at the time, I think just most ROM hacks were just like, what if it was really hard? Which is not something I was aware of, because I don't play a lot of ROM hacks. But, yeah, I guess because Undertale isn't really hard until, like the end or in like optional areas. I was kind of expecting it. I was not expecting it to be hard. And I was very taken aback by that. You have to just not do anything at the beginning of the game and just grind out like several levels so you can survive in the sewer.
That was the thing that really fucked with me, because it was like, go to the sewers. And so you go to the sewers and then you just die in one hit to everything. And so you do have to just grind levels. I think that's a big problem. I have a couple of things. One, you had the same set of expectations that I did, essentially, because like neither Undertale nor Earthbound are particularly difficult, except in specific places in both games. And so it was kind of a shock to me that from the get-go, the thing that you had to do was just grind levels. But I will say that I have more of an expectation for that, because it makes sense to me for a ROM hack generally being made by people who have like played the original games like 10 million times. ROM hacks have a tendency to skew more difficult just because the people who are making them are like Omega fans of the games that they're hacking. Right. So that made some amount of sense. Still didn't expect it. Still got absolutely shit on at the beginning of the game, and then also in the middle of the game, and at the end of the game I got especially shit on.
I just feel like, though, like for the genre it is, like I just feel like that line of thinking just doesn't make a ton of sense, because like just having to grind out levels so that you can play the game, like that's not fun, no matter how big of a fan you are of the game.
No, that's true. And I always found that weird in RPGs as well. Like a difficult RPG is a thing that like I was probably like 25 before I realized that like, oh, you can make a difficult RPG that isn't just a boring game. Like there are other strategies that you can sort of plan around, like with, making use of, like in Pokemon, right? Like as a child, Pokemon is like a reasonable level of challenge because you don't know your left from your right and are dumbed in the ways of the world. And I just played those games like that all the way up into adulthood, essentially, where you just do attacks all the time. But once you start making those games difficult, you start to see the utes in utility moves, and in other RPGs it would be like the haste spells or whatever. You're like, oh, this is going to increase my damage output while reducing the amount taken. Turn-based combat isn't literally just I punch you, then you punch me back. That's like a thing that I had to learn because I don't interact with the genre that much. But that's not really true for the first, like, what ends up being like an hour and a half, 2 hours of this game, which is like solidly a quarter or more of its runtime, because all you can do is punch stuff and then it punches you back.
Right.
For a very long time, and it makes the grinding really unfun.
Yep. And it's annoying, like the spawn rates of the enemies too. Like, I don't know if you grind it out like in the town, like south of the town, where the trick-or-treaters and stuff are. But yeah, it's like you just have to run up and down that street trying to get them to spawn, and the spawn rate is weirdly low.
Yeah, I took full advantage of this being like a ROM hack, like on an emulator. So I played like the majority of the game at 2x speed, and I made save states before like every fight, and it would reload when things were going bad for me. And then my favorite part about it being on an emulator is at the end of the game, I just put in an infinite health code.
There you go.
Because I would not have beaten this game without it, I don't think. I am a big fan of Earthbound. I like Earthbound for its tone. I like it for its writing, the visuals, the characters and stuff. I kind of like some of the battle mechanics, but I was looking at like the spells and stuff in this game and like experimenting with it and then getting one shot because like things just miss. And I wasn't having a great time. And I was dying very, very often.
Yeah. And that's not just a thing you have to do at the beginning. Like, you have to keep doing it. Like, each new place you go to is a difficulty spike, and you have to grind, or I guess avoid battles and grind more later.
Yeah. But, grinding will be in your future with this game, unless
it does
you put an infinite health code in.
Right, obviously. Oh yeah, I think it does like kind of almost disincentivize at least someone like the average person, I would think, from experimenting, because you're like, you feel like you're on the back foot, like you don't feel like you're in like a comfortable position to like test out your spells because you're trying not to die.
Yeah, it's like you end up using certain. I mean, I forget what it's called. It's one of the earlier spells that you get, and it should have been telling. There's a spell that I think it's called like stun sleep or something. That just like disables an enemy until like it works like freeze essentially in like any other RPG where they just can't do stuff for a while. And you get it very early, which I should have been an indicator of how difficult the game was going to be. Right. Because it's a very strong ability. And so I ended up using it a lot. And then, but then once you get, and this is a problem in the original game as well, so I guess it makes sense that it carried over. Once you get like Paula and Jeff, they die in one hit to literally everything. So it's not even like I didn't want to experiment with their abilities. I literally couldn't because they were just corpses so often.
Right. Yep. But you mentioned that you like the tone of the original game of Earthbound. And I was wondering if you had thoughts about that in this ROM hack, because I thought like probably the most affecting thing about it for me is that it starts out feeling kind of just like I don't know, goofy, sarcastic, kind of what you would expect a teenager would make in the late 2000s. And then I think that makes the tonal shift once you get through the sewers hit really hard. When you emerge into like this hellscape where like, all the grass is black and, all the trees are red, and all that stuff. And all the enemies are like melted versions of enemies and stuff. So I think this game did pull off an interesting tonal shift, like taking inspiration from the original thing and kind of doing its own thing with it.
Yeah, I will say the what little narrative there is, and the tone in the middle of the game are the highlights to this. I think there's a pretty obvious parallel that I'm drawing between this and when we did Pokemon Black, the ROM hack of the original Pokemon games that's based on a creepypasta. That was explicitly inspired by like that, like I'm going to call it a literary work of the Pokemon Black creepypasta. Whereas this feels like it's giving the same energy, like a very good creepypasta where you're playing a game and things just suddenly shift in a darker way. And in that, like, trademarked creepypasta kind of goofy, stupid way of being creepy, but like effective because you're the only person your guard is down, and that's why it functions. I agree entirely. I think that is like my favorite part of this. And I was going to open the podcast by saying that I felt like we should have made this a critical miss on the mystery main tables. But then I got to that part and I was like, there's some merit to this. Like it isn't all trash. And then the game ends and I was like, maybe it is trash, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to talk a little bit about how this game, I don't want to, it feels weird for me to like attribute it to Toby Fox, even though he literally did everything that's in the game. But the way that he attempts to mirror the tone and like the quippiness of the original Earthbound it feels close, but I think the parts to me that actually work is less in the like dialogue, which is where it feels like a creepypasta, and more in the fact that like everything is described in like a very over the top sensational kind of way. Like when you get attacked by an enemy, they don't attack you, they bite your head off, or like something crazy like that. Like it's always this extreme version. The monster tried to shove your entire body down its throat. Like that's an objectively really funny way of describing what's happening. And then like for it to just deal like 30 damage or something, it's really good.
Which is most of your health, probably.
Which will be, I think I ended the game at level like 19 or something. And like, I don't think that I broke triple digit health, or like I was just barely over it. So yeah, it will bite your head off sometimes, but that to me feels like a thing that the original game would have done, written like a ridiculous description like that.
Yeah, it's got like that 90s cartoon energy.
And then just like a little bit of edgelord whenever you kill an enemy and it's like their chest exploded and the blood splattered all over the ground, or
whatever. Well, parts of the dialogue, and then also I think like the new main character, which I think is canonically named Varric or something like that. Yeah. He just feels like such a late 2000s like edgy OC. He's just
that is true.
He's like a bounty, like he's like from Mad Max or something. It's like a bounty hunter in armor, just in the Earthbound world.
Yeah, it's so strange too. And like the end of the game, which has a lot of issues, even like gives him this like it's clear that he just like ran out of ideas at the end and was like, how do I wrap the game up? I don't. Which is also a classic thing to do, both when you're a teenager and also in the late 2000s, when it was like, let's just try and be subversive for the sake of it. And I mean, we can talk about it because it is like a tone related thing. The end of this game, there are two versions of this. You, I assume, played the version that I sent to you.
Yeah.
Okay. I downloaded and patched the the file off of a link that I found, but there are two versions of this ROM hack. There's the version we have, and then there is a censored version that leaves out the final boss repeatedly calling you a homophobic slur.
Right.
Which is obviously a bad idea. It's also a thing that a teenager in 2008 would do for shock value.
It's also a thing that a teenager in 2008 would have just said regularly.
Also true. Source, we were teenagers we hung out with many teenagers in 2008 because they were us and other people we knew. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things where, like, going back to it, I understand I'm coming from like a position of a certain, like, it's less likely that this is a thing that's going to affect me because of who I am and my upbringing and whatever. Mm-hmm. But there are moments where you see it and it reads funny, where you're like, wow, like it shocks you into like a sense of like, whoa, like this is a product of its time, or you have like this visceral sort of reaction. I cannot stress enough. This one just felt complete, like it felt like it broke the whole world that the game had set up. Like it had become a new, like a different, more stupid thing than it was. Uh-huh. And then it doesn't lose that energy for the rest of the game, because it goes into this conclusion where he's like, yeah, and then Varric got drunk and like banged some chicks or whatever. Anyway, how am I going to end this? I'm not. Goodbye. And then it plays Megalovania for like an hour.
Right.
So it was like the game had started. I was very concerned about it. Then it earned my respect, and then it crashes out massively at the end, where it just like lost. And like the final boss battle is where I had to put cheat codes, and it's so stupid. Like I have no idea how you're intended to actually beat that fight. Because he just kind of kills your entire party in one go. So it felt like there was like a creative building throughout the game, and then just a collapse at the end where it just felt like he had a tantrum and wanted to finish the game as fast as possible.
That might be the case. I've heard that like ROM hacking is extremely difficult. And yeah, just alter it, because it's like all compiled or whatever. So like taking the code apart and changing it is like really difficult if you're not a computer. So maybe he was just frustrated at the end. But I have a couple things to say there. Yeah, I also agree. The fact that Andonut's the best named character of all time.
I know.
Just yelling shit at you is off-putting and weird. And I actually heard, like, I watched a video about this today, and they made like a kind of justification for like why the choice might have been made to use the F slur, because like it's implied that Andonuts himself is gay in this ROM hack, and it might just be like internalized like homophobia of him like lashing out at other people by calling them that. But I don't think that was probably on Toby Fox's mind in the year of our Lord 2008. But yeah, I just think overall it just tonally, I think like you said, kind of crashes and burns there. And God, you said a whole bunch of stuff.
I did, yeah. I will follow up on saying that I would be more willing to like believe that as like a justification if the end of the actual ending of the game did not lean so hard into that 2008 teenager mindset as well.
Right, yeah. And then
where
it
you
ended.
Drink some beers and bang some chicks and then roll credits.
Yep. But yeah, I didn't beat the final fight. I did not think to put in cheat codes. But there's like a reverse of Echo the Dolphin where I did think to put in cheat codes and you didn't. But I watched the ending earlier today, and I want to say, because I was only kind of paying half attention because I was working at the same time, but like I want to say there's like an item you can get that's like some kind of like a shield for your whole party that will like reflect damage back at him. I don't know if that's a thing that you did or had, but that seemed like it was probably a big part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
a big part of it.
I will follow up on saying that I would be more willing to like believe that as like a justification if the end of the actual ending of the game did not lean so hard into that 2008 mindset as well.
And then it ended.
I probably could have. So yeah, there's an item that's called like the P shield. It's not called that at all. It's like the P powered something that reflects non-physical attacks. But it works like the spell does, like the Psy Shield spell.
Mhm.
And so you use the item, and then after it takes a certain amount of damage, it will just break, and then you have to reapply it. And I only had one of that item, and so I would use it, and then I would use Paula to reapply the shield, and then I would have to keep Paula alive and also be replenishing her her PP, her magic points, or whatever it's called in this one. To have her be able to keep casting the spell.
Points or something
Psi
like that.
Points. But then I would have to have like the enough items for like the taffy or the whatever else that it would actually like restore the points. So it was like I think it may have been doable if I just kept using them over and over again, but I kept like running out of items, or like somebody would die at an inopportune moment and I would have to like start over. And I got tired of it after like 2 or 3 tries. And so I just put in infinite health codes. Especially considering I spent like an hour and a half grinding levels right before that. It did not put me in a mood to grind a difficult boss fight.
Yeah, put in the infinite health code, drink some beers, bang some chicks.
Bang some chicks, roll credits.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the whole ending of the game really kind of put a damper on the experience for me, unfortunately. I feel like we talked when we were talking about Pokemon Black that game, neither of us finished that game because it was either one, the ROM hack was unfinished, or 2, we didn't want to play the entirety of a Pokemon game that was like only a little bit different than the original to get the experience. And maybe that was actually a strength of it. And maybe not finishing your creepypasta styled or Nintendo game ROM hack is the way to go. Cause I was like kind of enjoying this in the middle of it. And then the end just sort of like did not do it for me.
Yeah. I mean, I did think just like taking the ending like seriously I think it would have stuck the landing just fine. Cause yeah, I think like this is actually a really inspired idea for a ROM hack. Cause like it hones in on a part of the ending of the original Earthbound that's like you kind of forget about, but that's like fucked up. That like he takes the brains out of children and puts them in robots and sends them back in time. And yeah, like in the original game, yeah, they all come back at the end, and are fine. But like asking the question of like, what if they didn't?
Right.
And then like the guilt of the doctor for having like killed his son and his friends. It's a really interesting idea to like make a sequel ROM hack about. So yeah, like I think, yeah, remarkable job. And then just kind of like, it's like he just threw his hands up at the end and was like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
In true 2008 fashion. Well, whatever.
And I like that that's like the part of the game that had the most sort of like handmade content as well. Like the end of the game, it had like, because he wrote Megalovania for this, and it's now like the signature song, and it's like playing this now gives me, I've already heard Megalovania too much in my life, and now I have this additional negative connotation with it. But it sucks that if he had just taken it more seriously and like made an ending that made more sense, it was consistent with the world, it would have been worth suffering through all of the grinding for. And it really isn't. You can just skip the grinding and run past enemies and have a better experience with the ROM hack, and then just don't finish it.
Right. Or put in the cheat codes.
Yeah, or you put in a cheat code. I agree with you though with the story though. I think the story is great in parts. I think that the real because it does want to like canonize itself and says like, oh, they did return, but they returned in like a different version of the world.
Yeah,
and
like
so
the,
that's why this one exists.
like the Ocarina of Time, like split timeline thing.
Yeah. And so that's something for sure. Like that is a way to do it. But honestly, even without that, I would have 100% like bought into what this game was selling. I love when you go to, what is it called? The Sea of Venus or something?
Eve, maybe?
Eve? That would make more sense probably. Basically the end of the game where you go and fight and Donut's inside of his own mind. And all of your party characters who are the characters from the original game are represented by like the robots, like they are in that section of the original. It's just a great, he does a good job of meshing the stuff that was in the original that was creepy and weird and bringing it back into and making it the focus of the ROM hack story. It's just, it is, and I mean, I guess I'm not surprised because Undertale goes on to be this very like meta narrative focused game that he would make a game that is like, what if we just hyper focused in on this one part of the original and pick it apart and see what exists in it. So I'm impressed. It's funny that the same person who came up with the idea and wrote the story we have is the same guy who wrote the line about drinking beer and banging chicks before the credits rolled.
Yeah, and I don't know if you were watching Game Theory at the time, but like, you remember the whole like, is Sans Ness like thing? So they might even literally be connected because Ness is notably absent from this game. And I know that it was like from what I remember, I feel like it was like part of that Game Theory video that like Ness, like something happened to him and then he ends up, entering into the Undertale world and like becomes Sans or however, whatever else was part of the theory. And playing this ROM hack, I think gives it a little bit more credence that like maybe that's what he was going for. But then there's also the thought though, like, is Varric just Ness?
Right.
Which is also a thing that like I thought about.
Yeah, I was not sure what the intent with that character was. To like right now, I don't have a good answer for you. I was hoping that the ending would elucidate me, but obviously it did not. So I'm not sure exactly but there is you can find Ness in Magicant. Right. But he doesn't call himself Ness. It just is his sprite. And I think he says like, you're me, or something. Like that's his dialogue. It's just like, he's like saying that Varric is him. So I'm wondering if that is just it. But then later in the game, you become Ninten for a brief moment where you walk around and everyone is the party members from Mother 1. So I don't know.
Me neither.
Yeah. And obviously all of that stuff takes place like in a mental world, which is like a thing that lots of games like to play around with. So I have to imagine that there's an implication that Varric is Ness, but I don't know if the game gives any like concrete answers as to whether or not that's true.
Right. The world may never know. Just a random one-off observation is I just thought it was interesting while playing this, when you get to Magicant, you have to recover Andonut's courage by gathering 3 party members, which just feels very Wizard of Oz. And then in Deltarune, it's very obviously Alice in Wonderland inspired. So I just thought that was just a fun little parallel to notice.
That is true. You do also collect the 3 party members and then walk down a road that was previously blocked off to you. So that lends even more credence to this idea. Yeah. I thought that Deltarune was inspired by Chalk Zone.
I mean, it is also kind of similar to Chalk Zone.
It's also kind of a Chalk Zone. It's a little bit of a Chalk Zone and a little bit of Alice in Wonderland.
What is Chalk Zone if not Wonderland?
That's a good point, you know?
Rudy's got the chalk.
Or maybe Ruby slippers have the chalk.
The Rudy slippers.
The Rudy slippers. Those are just checkerboard Vans.
Mm-hmm.
Our Rudy slippers. A joke for no one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything else. The game, well, I guess the reason I don't have anything else could be another thing. The game was a lot shorter than I was expecting it to be. I guess not that much shorter than I was expecting it to be because of all the grinding.
Right.
But I wonder if that played a part as to why there was so much, why like the levels requirement went up. I'm saying requirement, like where you're comfortable to actually take fights kept going up as drastically as it did was just to try and like squeeze extra time out of it.
Possibly. Probably, yeah.
That's my theory. Because there's really, well, and also I guess just the difficulty of making a ROM hack of Earthbound probably incentivized stretching the game out in other ways. But yeah, I want to bring this up. I need to actually like fucking look it up though. When I was looking at something, I was trying to find a version of the game that would be playable. I was sent to via a Google search about the game. There is apparently not an Undertale wiki, but a Toby Fox wiki specifically. And it was very funny to read the page on it because it was so aggrandizing of Toby Fox, which makes sense given where the article was put. But it was like, it went like weirdly in character in a way that I was uncomfortable with from like a reference source. And I just want to find that page so I can quote it to you.
Okay. I guess while you do that, the only other thing I had, and you've already kind of brought it up, but I think it's weird that it dropped party member management on you like halfway in, where like the first half was just you, and then it's just like, here's these party members. Yeah, and like you brought up, like, you don't really have time to like get them equipment or customize them at all, and they just die instantly. Like, so yeah, I just felt like it's kind of a scramble to like acclimate to them. And yeah, it's kind of a weird decision, I think.
Agreed. I mean, it is kind of how the original game was.
Right, but you have like a whole game to like, you know.
Yeah, and it took more consideration into the fact that like you could go around and do stuff and things were not immediately really lethal to you. Yeah, it felt bad. It felt like really bad to get characters and then have them die instantly to every single thing that came up. And it seemed like they probably could have just had you obtain them at the same level that you were, rather than having them show up at like at level like 8. So they just get fucking bodied immediately. I feel like there was another part of this. I am finding even more great quotes. I'm recommending to anybody who doesn't take this stuff very seriously to check out the Toby Fox Wikia, because it's written with a very interesting voice. But if you do take it very seriously, don't read it because it's bad, and I don't want this information to rot your brain. But this person says, the hack was created with the PK Hack Earthbound ROM editor, comma, which is very difficult to use. Toby had to be very careful not to corrupt the ROM and had to leave in some corrupted and messed up tiles. Cool. Thanks for excusing this.
I did notice a messed up tree in Tucson, so that explains that.
There it is. We finally figured it out.
See, I did watch some videos about this earlier, and they also mentioned that the PK whatever tool is hard to use, and I wonder if they're just quoting this.
They just pulled it from...
Yeah.
I realized what it was that how I got there. So I think I was trying to find out how long it was. And it was like one of the lines on there is just like, it's much shorter than the original Earthbound. And probably what happened was that was in the AI overview. And then it had the source being the Toby Fox Wikia, which should not be a source for anything. But whatever, here we are. But yeah, they could have been, I mean, but it also could be just true, I suppose,
is, but
that it was a difficult to use program. But I doubt there's much documentation out there on how difficult the program was to use, because it's probably a program that was used by like 13 people globally.
Right. Like supposedly, yeah, it was really easy to corrupt the ROM, and he had to like completely start over, work on it 14 times.
That sounds really fun.
So yeah, lending all the more credence to the maybe he was just fed up at the end, and that explains the final boss.
But then at the end of the game, in the credits, it says like Toby Fox worked on this and he had an absolute blast doing it. You liar! But yeah, so that's that I agree. It's kind of all I have for it. It was interesting to go back. Maybe this is final thoughts, but
yeah, that sounds like a final thoughts sentence.
It does. You're right.
Do we have Ando thoughts?
My Dr. Ando thoughts. This was interesting because it's ended up on the mystery mail list, right? Presumably 1,000 years ago, whenever most of the games that we put on the mystery mail list sort of popped into existence on some Google Doc or whatever. And I had just basically forgotten that this existed at all. So when it came up, I was actually really excited for it, because not that I had heard anything about it, but just the fact that I was recently thinking about Earthbound the game for a different thing that I was working on, and was like, oh shit, like I can go back and play a little bit of Earthbound and like figure out how that was, and then was just met with a big slap to the face and a kick in the balls, because this game was so hard to start and required so much grinding that it really put me off playing it for the first like several hours, which was discouraging, I would say. But having now gone through it, there is actually a lot of merit to this being as popular as it is. I understand that most of the notoriety comes from Toby Fox's name being attached to it. And there are certain elements that you can see, but mostly I was surprised at how little like Undertale this actually is. It feels very much like its own thing. It feels like the kind of like difficulty hacks that you see for a lot of games, in a way that I wasn't expecting it to be. I thought it was going to be a much more tonal, atmospheric kind of experience. So it defied my expectations in ways that were both good and tremendously awful. And I think at the end of the day, I would say that I don't like it, but it has its moments, and those moments are interesting in a similar way to the cool moments in like the Pokemon Black ROM hack, or in the darker, more secret parts of Undertale that are, and associated games that are more sort of like written with that like things are not as they are supposed to be kind of tone to them. And I think for that, it might be worth checking out, or at least like looking into watching a playthrough, something like that. Getting a working copy of this ROM requires more work than I think a lot of people are usually willing to put in for this kind of stuff. So, however you experience it, I think there might be parts of it that are worth, but just like understand the context and what's going on, and know that like the game experience itself is not that great, and that it contains a homophobic slur said multiple times. Always good things to look out for.
Yeah, I mean, this once again showing that I don't play ROM hacks really. Continuing to surprise me. Like I would have just thought you'd be able to just find the patched ROM and download it easily. but that is not the case. But anyway, so my Dr. Ando thoughts. So yeah, I can't say that I ever forgot that this existed, but I feel like it ended up on the list as like an idea of something to do for Pocket around Halloween, but we just never did it. But yeah, I can't say that I knew about this before Undertale, like before that game blew up. And I think probably similarly to a lot of people who went back and played it after they got really into Undertale. Like, I feel like this game was just way older than I expected. Like, I would have expected it to be a little bit closer to the release of Undertale than it is. Yeah, I would not have expected it to have been a thing he made as a teenager. So yeah, like all of the rough edges that come along with that do really stand out. You end up, yeah, it does feel very of its time. It does feel very late 2000s, like you said. There was that culture of like difficulty hacks that this kind of falls in with, and I found that very off-putting, just like you said. So yeah, and I did kind of, because like I had to go on a work trip last week, and didn't start this until like a couple days ago, and so when I booted it up and I just had to like sit there and grind for an hour, I was just like, oh god damn it, I'm tired. But I feel like if I would have played this back then, I probably would have liked it a lot. So like, I don't know, I think like it just hasn't aged well in a lot of ways. But yeah, I do think it's a really inspired idea, though, in terms of its story. Like the concept of the hack zones in on a really interesting and I think kind of easy to forget detail of the original game, and really examines like how messed up it could be. So I think that's really cool, and I feel like you can kind of see some ideas in here and how they would go on to like inspire what you see in Undertale and Deltarune. So it is a really interesting kind of time capsule or like artifact, or to be able to like look back at and kind of see some of the origins of where Toby Fox's game design ideals would come from. So yeah, I'm glad we checked it out. It's a little interesting piece of gaming history, I guess. But yeah, I think overall it isn't the most fun to revisit today.
Thank you for listening to Describing the Skybox this week.
What will we be describing next time?
Next time, we're going to be talking about Donkey Kong Bonanza, the Donkey Kong game that was a launch title for the Switch 2.
Yep. Now that it's a year old, it's finally fine time to do it for the podcast.
It's unfucking believable that the Switch 2 is a year old at this point. It's sickening to me. But until that time, you can get a hold of us. All of our contact information is on our website at describingtheskybox.com. Or on splattershot.pro. Fuck, we're on noclippodcast.net if you want to check that one out. Same as it ever was. There you can find links to all of our contact information or email, our Blue Sky account, the YouTube channel, the Discord where people talk about games and suggest games. We actually got some posts in there today. Because Andy called out one of the members on another episode.
I feel like we talked about like just not getting the game, and then like it was the game that he suggested for Fanbruary, and he was like, okay, I'm gonna go like put my kid down to bed or whatever, and then I'm gonna give my
and the
thoughts.
Kid was very fussy.
Yeah, and then just months go by with nothing. I was like, oh, I was really interested to hear what he had to say.
Yep. And now it's there, and you also can read it by joining our Discord server. And you can listen to any of our old episodes, including ones that we did on Earthbound. These are old episodes. Earthbound, the Pokemon Black hack episode.
Yep. Our Undertale epilogue video. Deltarune episode 1.
Eventually, you will definitely see the other parts of that game showing up. Final Fantasy 1 is an old RPG that we did.
Sure is.
Pretty recently. Jazz Punk is a comedy game. I'm just reaching for stuff for no reason.
Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, which features the Sans Mii costume and the song Megalovania.
And also Ness, which this game does not feature. Shudder, then collapse to the ground and have the like button leak out of your pores and stain the grass with your blood. Ooh.
Try to shove the whole subscribe button down your throat.
Enter into the Magicant mental reality of your fellow listeners in the comments section.
And discuss whether or not Dr. Endonuts is gay in the comments section.
In the comments. Subscribe to an understanding of the game that makes using a slur okay.
Apparently that boss fight where it's just like 3 pictures of just like up close male body parts.
Yeah.
You can win that fight by fleeing. So it's like you can just run away from the gay thoughts.
That's, you know what's insane? We did this whole podcast. There was a boss fight that was 3 close pictures of male body parts. I forgot. Like, I just didn't think about that. That's notable. And a thing that maybe I would have thought of differently about when we were talking about it.
Yep.
Well, there you go.
So run away from your gay thoughts. In the comments section.
That's way funnier than what I was going to say. So that's where we'll end on.
All right. Those hand motions really stopping me in my tracks.